David Sauers. Thank you so much for coming on Inner Edison Podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
Oh, well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
No problem. So before we went live, I asked you what was a win on the show for you today, and I want you kind of to say the same thing you did. I know you're not going to get exact because it's never the second time as good as the first time, but you went in, and I'll let you go in a second. But you went into the fact that everybody talks to you about your Royal Restrooms of the CEO and how you built that and however that, and now you're doing something differently, and you kind of wanted to talk about that. And I think that's important for people to know. When you do podcasting, you shouldn't do what everybody else does. You should do something differently. One of the biggest things that somebody was so shocked when I asked them a question that they had said something like 5 or 10 minutes ago, and I brought it back to that, and I asked them that question, and they were like, wow, you were listening to me. That's what you're supposed to do as the host of the show. You're supposed to ask a question, have a conversation, and when they say something, go back to it and react to it. But now I'm going to stop talking for a second, and David, answer that question. What is a win on the show for you today?
Right, Ed. So when you first asked me that question, what came to mind was I would like to try to create my own podcast. And I've been on quite a few podcasts that have talked about our origin stories of Royal Restrooms and how we've revolutionized the industry, changed the industry, done events, all of those different things. But one of the big things that I realized at a board meeting for Southeast Festival and Events Association, I just said, I think that we should do podcast.
David, where are you located?
I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, so people know that relationship where you're talking. Okay.
Right. So Southeast Festival and Events Association is across the southeastern states, and it is primarily comprised of municipalities and small city administration, festival and event organizations. In other words, they put on like the Blackberry Festival, they put on the Moon Pie Festival, small barbecue fest, Labor Day festivals, that sort of thing. Very limited exposure. And getting back to what I was saying, why I wanted to start a podcast, which I called Elevated Eventure, is I wanted to bring more awareness to what these talented individuals do. They put a lot of their time and energy into these small festivals. They do them on very low budgets, and they put on remarkable events. And I went to the conference last week in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I ended up doing about 20 different podcasts of various event organizers and these municipalities. And so a great response. I got more people that want to do it. And I'm excited. I don't know if I was necessarily a great podcaster, but I'm trying to create a platform to put them out there so that they can talk about the things that they do and the work that they put into it, and the purpose of these organizations, the history and the tradition that people build around these things. The Moon Pie Festival, the National Banana Pudding Festival, all started out of a charity to help the Red Cross, and that's how it started. The Apple Festival in Kentucky, it started because there was an over harvest of apples, and they all brought them into the city 61 years ago, and they just made jams and apple pies and did everything apples, and it's turned into a city tradition. They bring in over, I think it was like 16,000 people to this town of like 2,100 people, and they do it in one day. It's crazy.
Wow. So the question would be, is for most people, because when I interviewed a guy who during the pandemic, he started doing, so he would go to trade places, those event centers that you go for all the different trade shows. There's a word I was looking for. And then and he was trying to get people to do podcasts, right? And they're like, no, we don't do that. We all just show up to trade show. Well, guess what got shut down? And then they called him and said, hey, we would like to do those things you were asking us to do. And so he started doing podcasting and whatever. He started making $60,000 a month by just doing that instead of going to trade shows and everything else that he did. And then all he does now is like 12 different podcasts. And then next thing you know, he's doing, but when I had a conversation with him, same thing I thought it was. If you're going to do a podcast, do a daily podcast if possible. And it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, an hour. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. But because the reason is, and I do a daily show Monday through Friday on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And then we put it up as a podcast afterwards. But it's about real estate and finance. And it's the co-host I have for my radio show we do on Saturday. We do it during the week. And I was trying to get everybody from the radio show over to my other show so I could get rid of the radio station. But they work so together that I don't want to do that now. What I'm getting is that podcast, after a few months, we were in the top 1% of all daily podcasts.
Wow.
And that's because it sounds amazing, but there's not a lot of them. That's just like my Helping the Brave podcast that I have. All the 100 top veteran podcasts were 41. And I haven't put the energy into it that I need to. And now I'm starting to do that. I hired a VA to edit all my podcasts, put everything out there, cut them up the way they need to be done so that I can get higher up in the system just to get them the knowledge, get that more out there for people. So I don't know if I answered some of your questions, but it sounds to me like you found a natural thing for you, and people go, I don't know if I'm good. It's about get going and then get good.
Yeah. I felt like I got a little bit better as time went on, but my goal was to do about 20 of them and basically drop one twice a month or before an event happened or something. But we haven't even aired one yet. And I've already got 3 or 4 more requests that other people want to go on. So like I said, I'm really hoping that this catches on and maybe we're actually able to produce something for them. If anything, it gives them a little bit more of a voice other than what they have. Someone's asking them some questions and they're putting, what it means to them to do what they do.
How many festivals are there? Different places?
Oh, wow.
Or people who would do it. Yeah.
There are literally tens of thousands.
Okay. So you have enough content, because here's the thing is whatever you decide to do, you have to do. So if you say, I'm going to drop it on a Tuesday every week, a new episode every week on a Tuesday, it needs to be done on Tuesday every week. It has to be consistent. That is the biggest thing. The Inner Edison podcast you're on right now is in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. One of the biggest problems I had is we were supposed to talk about your greatest accomplishments come from your greatest defeats. And I got to a point where people would not talk about their failures. And I got frustrated after about 3 years and said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to take 6 months off. Well, guess what? I have not been able to get back into the top 1% of all podcasts in the world because of that. And that's what you have to be careful with. So whatever you do, just understand. But there's nothing wrong with taking breaks. You have to do whatever there's things you have to do in life and not worry about it. My goal wasn't to be in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. It was just to put out a good product and have people understanding what happens to you in a business, and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Just like when you're podcasting, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say stuff that you're like, why did I say that? Leave it in. Don't take it out. The oohs, the ahs, leave it in until you get good. People always ask me, why are you doing so many lives? Why are you doing that? I did 10,000 hours plus a radio show and everything. It was to get good at things. So you get to a point where you just don't care anymore. You care about the product, but you just don't care if you make a mistake.
Right. Well, I can understand that, and being as genuine as possible. And I can say one of the nice things is, it's a lot easier to ask people things when it's not necessarily about you and you're genuinely interested in the story. And it was an easy conversation. And I could have probably talked to these people for 45 minutes or longer, but I purposely tried to keep it under 20 minutes.
Right. Well, this is usually 30 minutes. Sometimes we go over. And if it's real short, that means it was not a good podcast and nobody will know.
All right. I guess I should watch that clock then up there.
No, what I'm getting at is just because you record somebody doesn't mean you have to put it out if it's not good. And there's times that's okay. But so you still, these are like little shows. And do you take one of your royal bathrooms to these shows? Is that what you do? Or you just,
So normally I do. This one I just
the
had a
reason, the
little
reason I'm saying this, you should turn one of them into a podcast studio.
a bathroom. Turn
That would be your unique key thing about it. Turn the little toilets into thrones, and that's what you sit around and do your podcast. You're also got your product there. You're not really selling it, but you're just also doing your podcast, because then you can include soundproofing in there, all your equipment's in there, and you can go and you don't have to worry about hauling stuff. But it would be Royal Restrooms podcasting booth. You know what I mean? It would tie it together to what you do. You're helping people, but also you're also helping yourself at the same time. It's just
right.
thought.
And no, and that's the, I mean, that's the ultimate goal is, hey, I'm trying to promote you. Hopefully at some point I will, I would like to be at your events and servicing your people. I would like to try to elevate your event as much as possible, but I want to go try to help you. I want to learn about it. I want to know more about it. So it's a two-way street, but it's also not a two-way street. I'm not doing it for that, but that's what I would like to see at the end, hopefully.
Well, I mean, if you look at Joe Rogan, he has his own studio the way it is. It's a Joe Rogan studio, right? It's his studio. Well, how could you tie it to you? Well, you just did by what I just told you. I don't know if you will do it, but it would be some unique thing that most people wouldn't do. And I always do things that are totally different. So.
Well, one thing is it's funny. I am always dressed in purple. I am decked out in purple. So it's like people like at the conference, it's like, what are you wearing today? Because I will be in a different purple suit every single day. Colorful shoes. I am just all decked out in royal.
Well, because you want to stand out. And that's how people know you. Like there's some people I know that wear a certain color hat. I'm usually always in a black hat with my Helping the Brave podcast on it, because I support veterans, because I am one. And that's just it. That's what you have to tie together. That is what you need to do.
Yeah, because I mean, porta potties they're not sexy.
Nope.
But it's something that we all have to do, and we all want to do it in comfort.
Right. And so, I mean, and it's about what you came across a great niche that no one's doing. And doing that is also will help you get into people know who you are. And hey, oh, by the way, we need that. Oh, you know who? I just had a podcast with so-and-so, and he does bathrooms.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's about the whole purpose of podcasting is to promote your business overall.
Right. It's to pick in all those leads and those, solidify all of those, I guess, business transactions together to create what, to stay ahead of the game. And that's one thing that Royal Restrooms has always done. We've been able to stay ahead of everybody else in our industry.
Yeah. And turning your thing into a studio would be above and beyond, because everybody would talk about, oh my God, I was in their studio and it was on, it's, you know what I mean? It's just,
oh yeah. I've got golden toilets and I've got big purple, like throne chairs. I've got all the makings for it. That's for sure.
And it would just be perfect. And then you could, the equipment's easy to do. I'm actually putting together a book right now with equipment advice, but if you're going to do something like that, you just get a Rodecaster and a couple of mics, and you can do up to 4 mics at the same time. Because you could also do not just one person, but 2 people and 3 people, and then 4 people, that kind of stuff. But I would tell you to try to keep it yourself and one other person and keep the conversation short. I used to do on my Helping the Brave, I used to have 2 and 3 hosts, and it gets really, if you're trying to take the conversation a certain way that you want to take it that way, a co-host might throw that off.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I had one on Helping the Brave, and we'd all go a certain way, and then this one lady would just take it completely opposite from where we're going. It's like, don't you understand? Aren't you following what we're talking about? We need to stay over here. It's kind of like my daughter playing soccer and as a goalie, and she's chasing butterflies instead of protecting the net.
I remember those days for sure. I'm actually getting ready. I'm going back through that with my son. He just started to play baseball, and he is pitching a fit about the gnats. The gnats are just overtaking him. So it's I remember the chasing the butterflies for sure.
Oh, she definitely, pull ups and everything else on there instead of focusing on when the ball's coming. Well, it never comes back here. Yeah, wait, it will. Don't you worry about it. So, did you have any other questions about the podcasting? I mean, because it's whatever you want to do, but I was on one guy's podcast that was 12 minutes, and I mean, it was 12 minutes. It was like, okay, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I'm still in that early stage. I'm in that. Okay, I went and did it. And now I've got to edit it. Now I've got to try to, I guess, correct everything or make it look nice and write the blog pieces or.
All right. So let me help you there. Cast Magic. Try castmagic.com. Yeah. Try castmagic.com. That would get me the affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything else. Cast Magic is you drop the MP3 file in there and it will write everything you want to know. It will do titles, it will do keywords, it will do the Apple description for your podcast to put up to Apple, because when you upload it through Libsyn or wherever you choose to upload it through, it's going to want that information. YouTube listing, so that when you put the video on YouTube, you have the description on there, all the hashtags, you name it. And if it doesn't have it there, you go over to this other side and you say, okay, I want this part of it. When I post my stuff on my personal website, I need certain things, a meta description, certain things. I've add that in there to where we go copy, paste. And what would normally take us an hour takes 3 minutes now.
Wow. So I was going to look at Podbean as the uplift. I mean, as the upload. No? It's
whatever works for you. I've been using Libsyn. I started with SoundCloud back. That's how long I've been doing this. 2018, I started my radio show. And at that point, you did the radio show and you were done. And yes, we had 51 to 71,000 listeners on the radio, but I wanted to do something more. What else can I do with this? And so they would create a podcast out of it and I would upload it through SoundCloud, and then Libsyn and all these other things came along and I moved over to Libsyn. It just automatically uploads so much easier. Some people like other ones. I just like Libsyn myself. So it's whatever works best for you. And you just have to upload your MP3 file. You have to upload a picture. You have to upload the description, all the keywords, who's the owner of it. And it's not that difficult, but it takes time. The editing of the video, like if you want to make shorts and reels and certain things you want to do, there's another thing called Opus Clips, which is AI driven stuff that will shock you what they come up with. You can add B-roll in, you can do music, you can do a person who does the announcement in the beginning. So much you can do with that. It's changed drastically in the last 2 years with those two things. Really? I edit my stuff through Podcastle. I drop my MP3 file in there. I do a music to do an opener. In the Cast Magic, I had it create a short opener and a short outro, and then I just say thank you for coming to it. What do I normally say? Thank you for listening to, or something about another episode of Inner Edison Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Parcaut. Today we have David Sauers, and we're going to and I talk about kind of what we did originally. I used to not do that. I used to just do my normal opener and be done with it, and then I changed it after I came back. And first did was, I was gone for 6 months because I was really upset and I was trying to do this. Now I'm back. And so I found out doing the little opener about who the person is and what you're going to listen to, they know kind of what's going to happen. And then at the end, you thank you for being here. And this is, we went over the blah, 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 whatever the outro is. And then you have a little bit of music and you're closed off. And then you download that and you upload it through Libsyn or whatever you do. So it's involved, and this is stuff I've learned since really the big push for my podcasting was 2020 and 21, pandemic time, and how I learned how to set up my Rodecaster that I use. Back then we had this thing called Clubhouse. Remember Clubhouse?
No, I don't.
During the pandemic. Oh, and during the pandemic, it was a place where everybody went and listened to different rooms, and everybody was in these rooms, and they'd have all.
Oh, yes.
Well, there was 3 guys who was into podcasting. They each had a room at different times of the day, and I'd listen to each one of them. And one of the days I was talking to Tanner, who was a big guy, and I said, I'm trying to set, I asked a question, has anybody ever, set up a Rodecaster? And they go, oh, that's what we use all the time. And they go, go in there and we'll help you set it up right now. And while I was in Clubhouse, they helped me set it up, how to do the mix madness and all the stuff that you needed to do to take off. And, and since then it's just grown and grown. And the most important thing is to have a good set of headphones and a really good mic. Okay. And to use the mic. And there's different types of mic. There's condenser mics and there's dynamic mics. A condenser mic is kind of like the mics that they all tell you to get. If I turn around and get it, it's the blue line. Anyway, condenser will pick up all the sound around you. Dynamic will only pick up like right here. And those are the type of mics you want. So that way you don't hear my American Bully who's down here snoring right now. I mean, loud, super loud. You're in the room, you go, wow, that dog has a nose problem. No, that's just how American Bullies are. They snore loud. And people don't know. I mean, that's what you want. A gardener could just start doing stuff right next to me and you wouldn't hear it. And those are the mics you want, especially when you're going to be on location or whatever you do. That way, when people go by, you're not going to hear it and you won't have to edit that out.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I wanted to change gears here a little bit and ask you, because you had mentioned
this is my host. I'm the host. What are you doing?
I guess, but I wanted to ask, are you still wanting to know about have you jumped back on and trying to get?
Yeah. Most people talk about their failures now. Yeah, because I mean, when we just took a little differently today because you said you kind of wanted to go over this about what you wanted to do. And yeah, I mean, when you build a business or even when podcasting, you're going to have failures. I had one. When StreamYard first changed their software, that's what I'm using right now, StreamYard. You could go up there and hit restart or pause. And I was going through this podcast with a guy. I was going to pause it because something happened. I said, okay, let me pause. I hit the restart. So we lost the whole 20 minutes and had to start all over.
Oh, wow.
So but it was better the second time because we talked about the same thing, but we added so much more because we already knew that part of it. And so even those mistakes that happen can make things better. And that's what you need to know. So yeah, if you want to tell me one of your biggest failures and what you learned from it, that'd be great.
Oh, wow. I have I have a laundry list of failures here.
Are we talking? I assume we're talking about the restroom business.
Oh, well, that. And
what were you going to talk about then?
Oh, I was just curious if you had gotten back onto your track, but if you want to talk about my failures, I mean.
That's the track I get back on is the talking about failure. So you asked the question, and now I'm going to ask you the question.
All right. Well, I would say that probably my biggest failure right now is a person is I feel stretched thin, and I don't get back with people in a timely manner, and I end up making it worse on myself. And it's not because I purposely try to avoid things, but I cannot seem to climb out of that rabbit hole, and I constantly continue to fail when I know what I should do. And I don't necessarily know if that's just me personally or if that is me not necessarily wanting to address something and push it off sometimes. But
are we talking
failures?
Client? Are we talking?
No, I think most of mine would probably be my office owners. We've got a very good, powerful network of entrepreneurs and self-starters within our franchise. And we have a good relationship for the most part. But I tend to get hounded about petty stuff, and that I've never been able to set that boundary as I am the CEO. Do not call me about your email ever again.
Do you guys use High Level?
No, we use a Gmail platform.
No, all right. So what I'm trying to get at is, all right, since you guys take phone calls, people apply online, all the different things for bathrooms and everything else, correct? All right.
Yes.
So there's a company called it's High Level, but it's Go High Level because High Level was
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you got excited. Go ahead.
We have a conference call tomorrow at 1:00 with them.
Okay. Well, they usually go through another person to set it all up for you. And if you need somebody, let me know. I got the guy, because he set me up, because that was the biggest problem, is staying on top of, in my industry, I'm in the mortgage industry, and you get all these contacts, all these people, and it's hard to stay on top. And there's so many different CRMs and how to get them all together. You're going to be amazed what you can do with High Level and what it can do for you, and all the different websites it can house and everything it handles and how it's all tied together and how you get on it's just freaking amazing.
I'm super impressed. I'm super excited about this. We've gone through several different new CRM systems, and this one it does everything, and even things that I had no idea that we could do. I'm super excited to be on that call tomorrow, and I'm hoping that we push this on through. But yes, I think that would solve a lot of my problems. But as a fail, that's one of those constants in there. I would tell you another failure is
David. So yes. The information I use High Level. So you've been talking to my AI.
Really? No.
Yeah. That wasn't me.
No kidding.
Yes.
So how long?
You mean on the text and stuff like that?
Oh, your text.
Not on here. This has been me. No. I'm talking on the text and the email and everything else. You've been talking to me, when you were like, I'm ready to go, blah, blah, blah. That was not me.
That was all
AI. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it makes a mistake. Like someone said something that was like, well, reverse mortgages. Well, he wasn't even talking about that. And then I jump in and fix it. It's learning. You'd be amazed what you can set it up to do. And they're so far ahead, and the stuff they keep adding, they list so High Level. So, and the reason I'm saying it's go High Level, because it was 25 grand for High Level domain, but 2,500 for go High Level domain. That's why the name is that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and they have these, I heard about it years ago. And what happened is these companies would like, we can do this for you. And we do all this marketing. You pay them $2,000 a month, and they would give you this software. And I was like, this is amazing software. I wish I could use it. Well, then I found out it was High Level. And then I found out they were charging you $2,000, but they were only using $500 to pay for your marketing and keeping the rest. And I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I'm doing it myself. And then there are so many people out there who can actually help you build out the High Level side, because High Level, they have the product, but they don't set it up for you. They'll help you internally if you do have somebody in your company to do it, but sometimes it's easier to get somebody who deals with it on a regular basis. And it's nothing like Salesforce, which is ridiculous and so full of, so expensive. High Level is just, once you set it up, you can just go, and then each one of your franchises can have one set up for themselves, and then they handle all their stuff. And you can do it to where you have one number, they contact you with questions, and then that could be funneled to somebody else so that you don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, I will that you had me on the AI, and I was just like, okay, because I just went to another conference where they were doing the whole video where they were casting, I think it was like Nova AI or something like that. I was just like, wow.
You're talking about people actually on the AI
yes.
stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I actually have, if you call the number that's connected to a couple of my websites, you will not know that it's an AI person answering the phone. Welcome to Lending for a Living. How can I help you today? We're having trouble. I couldn't hear you there. Can you try to, I mean, it's just, I can tell because I deal with the voices. I sold by the phone for almost 20 years. I can hear the tones and inflections in someone's voice. So I can tell a difference between, human and not human, no matter who it is and how great it is. I can still tell the difference. It is getting so close though, that you don't know that.
Yeah. It's getting scary at how, I mean, even with ChatGPT now, I am amazed at how much they pick up, and you're just like, I throw something in there and just be like, hey, refine this a little bit for me. And then I'm just like, wow, that really sounds good, but it still sounds like me.
Well, if you want it to really sound like you, just drop in a couple of the things that you've written in the past. Like if you have a book or any kind of stuff, and then say, remember my voice. And when you do something, and say, put it in my voice if it's not in your voice. I dropped my book in it, and I told it to remember, to be able to read my book, understand my voice, how I speak. And that's what it did. And so everything is written in my voice without me even trying. The other thing with Chat GPT, you can create GPTs, which is separate things that to do certain tasks. Then you don't have to tell it the prompt each time. The prompt saved inside of that GPT, and I do that for. In my industry, I have underwriting letters that they have these questions that you have to explain why this thing is this. I created a GPT for the underwriter those questions, so all my people have to do is drop that question in there, and it writes the answer for it, and they have the client sign it. I drop in a credit report without any of the information of the borrower and the social security number, and it will tell them how to get their FICO score up so many points, where normally we used to have to go through the system to do that. When I do bank statement loans and I have to add up all, 24 months of bank statements of the deposits, everything else, I just drop them into Chat GPT. It does it for me.
Wow.
And you have to ask it to verify its numbers when it does numbers, just so you know, because it makes mistakes. But you can create so many things. My show here, I have a podcast episode GPT, and I say what podcast it is, who my guest is, and I drop in your website and I drop in your pod match information, not your screen, just the link to the podcast, and it creates the show for me.
That would have been curious to see what it said instead of you just asking me what I would like to do today.
Well, no, the difference is I have it there for like different questions that I might not think about to ask you. I still do what I do, but I just have it there as a background. I have a daily show I told you I do every morning. Which normally I would research for 2 hours for that show every morning, sit there with my coffee, read every different thing. Now I just go copy, paste in this thing I created, a couple of different copies of different things, and let it create my show in the morning. And it's exactly what I would do because I taught it how to do it. And that takes me 5 minutes versus 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what are you doing with the extra time now?
Exercising. I went from having 4 assistants 2 years ago down to myself, and now I have some virtual assistants, but nothing like I used to have. So I had to figure out other ways to do things faster and better. And plus the companies I work with, they have people internally who help us and do certain things for us. But it's just all this stuff has taken so much time, has opened up so much more time for you to do things once you learn how to use it. I explained to a guy I was interviewing who was in my industry, he's doing something else. I told him what I was doing. He was like, I cannot believe you could do that now with that thing. It's like, yeah, you have no idea. And what's nice about it, once you learn how to do GPTs, you can daisy chain them. Like I've had it where I was creating a couple of websites that I was trying to have created for because I separated out my business into 3 different websites. I work with veterans, reverse mortgages, and business owners. And I wanted every website to just talk to that person, because how can you sell something to somebody if you throw them to one place and you try to shotgun? No, you need to talk to your perfect avatar, that client, that's your perfect client all the time. And so I did it with that. I separated out my websites into 3 different ones. It's still me, still my company, but when they go there, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I use ChatGPT to help me create the website, the content for it, the follow-up emails, and all the other stuff that I wanted. And I daisy chained each one of those together. So the first one figured it out, and then I at the next one, and it would drop all that information into the next one, at the next one, and it dropped all that information into the next one. So I didn't have to keep doing it over and over again. So there's so much out there, David, that you have no idea that it can be done. You're only limited by what you can ask it to do.
It's just a matter of putting it down and doing it.
Yeah, I do this thing called Operation Firewalk, which is for veterans and first responders. We have an event where it's a motivational event, and we have a veteran and a first responder talk. Whether this year we're having a guy who was at 9/11 fire chief is going to come and talk for the first responders. The other guy is a local veteran who was a senior chief, retired, and he talks about fear. End of the night, we're going to have a fire walk across Coles, just like a Tony Robbins event, if you know who Tony Robbins is.
Yes.
And the guy that's doing it, he worked for Tony Robbins for 20 years as the fire captain. So we have very safety stuff in place. Well, the guy that was helping me last year through my Rotary, he created a logo. And one of the problems was, there was a guy kind of on fire because it was like in a thing. Well, there was a vet who committed suicide by pouring gasoline on himself and lit himself on fire. So a couple of people were like, I can't believe you're doing it. It's like, that's not what we were thinking. So I asked ChatGPT to create a logo for me, and it did.
Yeah. Now, I did do that with that podcast that we were talking about, Elevated Eventure.
Yeah.
I did do that, and it turned out pretty. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, and
I'm impressed.
Sometimes it does amazing, and sometimes it does horrible. What I mean by that is, or it will create it to where it's sideways and you can't use it as an actual logo. But I did find out today you can tell it to put it on a transparent background, and then use it on so have it created on a transparent background, so that way you can take it out there and use it on everything. So remember that, David.
I will make that change right now.
Because if you do Canva and try to do a transparent background, get rid of it. Sometimes it doesn't do it right and it messes up. And I just learned that today because we were having trouble with the logo I had created for it. The guy's like, I need it with a transparent background. I can't get the fonts to match, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, hey, chat, can you make this into it with a transparent background? And send it over to him. And he had just made fun of me. Mr. AI guy, I already know this. I tried this. I was doing blah, blah, blah. And I dropped it. I said, here it is. And I said, that insult was kind of hurtful. You're AI guy.
So did you pick up all this on your own,
Yeah.
I guess, from kind of self-starting yourself and just bridging that gap? Okay.
Yeah. I've been dealing with ChatGPT came out November 22, and I've been using it ever since.
Yeah. I think I just started using it maybe 7-8 months ago.
Yeah. Well, it's changed drastically in those 3 years. So, I mean, it's so much better. When I first started doing it, I told my wife about it, how she should go drop. I was telling agents how to write their descriptions for their properties. And I created a ChatGPT. All they had to do is put the address in, and it would write all the descriptions, everything about it, for everything, all the way down the door hangers that we would need. It would just in seconds be done. And that's things that you can do with it, with the GPTs. When what I'm getting at is, if you create something and you use it all the time, you can tell it to help you write a prompt that you can put into a GPT, and then ask it how to do a step-by-step, how to create that GPT, and then just follow that to do it. Then it goes over on the side to where you can just click on it to drop the information in. David, you have my information.
I know. I'm just writing down these pointers because the minute I get off with you, I'm looking up all of this stuff.
Well, so, it's amazing.
I apologize.
Don't be apologizing. Yeah. No, that means I'm giving some good information. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
And that's all I'm trying to do. Get that information out there for people. I'm finally finishing. I have 3 books that are waiting to be published. I have to upload. I have my one book came out 2 years ago in February, and then I rewrote a book for veterans about buying a house and all that stuff. I made my first book into just a VA book. Then I have another book that's for what to do with real estate through a divorce. And my third one is podcast mastery, build, grow, and monetize. And that one's coming out so I can turn that into an actual course. Because everybody asks me all the time, what equipment, what's this, what's that? I'm like, I might as well put it together because people ask me all the time. There must be, and people think that, but there's so many podcasts. There's so many of them out there. True. But the problem is, my 10-23 rule of podcasting is most people don't get past 80% do not get past the first 10 episodes before they quit. The next group that stops is before the 23rd episode. So I tell people, if you can get past the 23rd episode, you're probably going to have something and keep going.
Well, good. So I need to at least make a few more.
Well, you need to add, you already have 20 done. The question is, what is your format going to be? And you don't have to have that answer right now. You just have to figure out what that's going to be going forward. And what is your purpose? You know, why are you doing it? And who's your perfect client? Who are you going to be trying to talk to?
Right.
Because it sounds like you have a lot of people want to do it, but the question is who wants, which person are you trying to go? Are you trying to talk to people who want to come sell their goods at the place? Are you trying to talk to people who want to come and check out the place? Are you following me?
I'm following you exactly. And my hopes with that was, most of them have city Facebooks, they have city Instagrams, they've have platforms that we can share this on. And my hopes are that it will pique other people's interest that may not know about the festival, and they can come and enjoy and see this for themselves the first time. Because like I said, with Royal Restrooms, I've been to hundreds, thousands and thousands of festivals that were absolutely amazing that I would have never known anything about if I didn't own Royal Restrooms. So these festivals, they're deep in a lot of them in tradition and history and purpose. And you may not necessarily know what it is, but I mean, those are things that I always like to find out. I'm a history buff, so I want to know why things are built or how things can be built better, because I think there's always an opportunity to improve upon something.
Yeah. So you're curious.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
always.
That's why I was in sales, right? I don't care what it is. Mortgage. I always ask why. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Same thing I do on here. The things I used to get in trouble for at a dinner party, my wife be squeezing my leg to tell me to shut up. I can do now without any worrying about someone yelling at me.
There you
Right?
go. I mean, you just keep asking them why.
Well,
Eventually, you come to the answer, the true answer that you're looking for.
yeah, because the first one is what they think you want to hear. The second one,
Mhm.
that whole thing, and then by the third one is really why they're doing it, and that's why you have to ask them that 3 times at least to get there. And David, it was really nice having you on. I hope I answered some of your questions today.
You did, and I hope I didn't mean to take over some of your show.
Worry about it.
I love being on here, Ed. You've helped me out a lot, and I hope that, or I believe that a lot of other people will get some value out of the things that you told me today.
Good. I want to make sure we got your story across. But I think you have something there. You just have to make sure that you key your episodes towards that person you're trying to bring to the event. That's all I would say. Just now you know who that person is. That's who you need to key the episodes towards. So even though there's history involved, you just have to get, another thing is you got to get to a point faster than if you're trying to get somebody who's just listening, you need to find out what is that perfect spot. Is that a 5-minute podcast, a 10-minute podcast? Will people do 30 minutes? Will people do whatever? Maybe not, but you could share all these things on Instagram, short stories about, just
Mhm.
kind of a little thing about the festival and why they're doing it, or this great thing at the festival that's coming up. And then that's a whole new thing. And you're probably going to go, you know what? I like my restrooms, but I think I like doing this better.
It could be. I really enjoyed hearing these stories of people and talking to them, and I I believe that what I did will be of value to them.
I think so. I can see in your face you really liked it. So I get
I
it.
did. I enjoyed it.
David, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Ed. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.